Hey fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. In Båstad in Sweden I met Epoch, which are trying to bring back wooden rackets. And I don't mean these 60 square inch ones, but more of a modern pro staff made of wood. It does sound crazy, but like many things in life, crazy is fun. How did this seemingly insane proposition come to life? I did meet the founders in Båstad, Mikael and Theo. They're environmentalists, racket collectors. They met up in late 2020 to trade rackets. And these conversations quickly led to a simple workshop and a prototyping stage. They've now made about 50 prototypes, but they say their work is never done. The Epoch tennis rackets are composed by the finest woods we can find on the market. That's what they say. Each veneer layer is 1.5 millimeter thick, and the compositions are of different wood species and could be alternated into almost infinite combination. They use mainly ash, maple, birch, and walnut for these rackets, but they say they're constantly open for trying out new wood species as well. We use only FSC certified woods for our rackets, it says on their website. So I've tried these rackets alongside Henrik, alongside Daniel, who is a racket collector with 700 rackets, and as well Andreas Bergen, who you might seen from our podcast, and Laxelon Strings. He's not working for them anymore, but he used to do that in the past, so he knows a lot about strings especially. And Michael and Theo, they are two racket collectors, as I said, so they also know a lot about rackets. Henrik, you've seen in my previous podcasts, but also he's been doing reviews, and we actually hit quite a few hours of tennis when I went to Båstad and Jönköping to visit him. What can I say about these rackets? I can say that they play different from the old wooden rackets. These are much easier to play with. The swing weight is pretty high. I didn't measure it, but I heard they were like in the 370s, but did not quite feel that heavy. And as you've seen with the origin from Rafa, a 370 swing weight is not always an impossible thing to play. So the playability of these rackets actually impressed all of us. We tried one with Olive Power Orange, French Open edition, it's called Roland Garros I think. And we also tried one with multi-filament. It was a bit loosely strung, so that one would have been better with a slightly tighter string pattern, but they played really nicely. The sweet spot, as Henrik will say, is not huge once you get to the top of the hoop. The top of the hoop is so flexible that it lacks a little bit of that extra forgiveness, but it's much more forgiving than older wooden rackets, so it's easier to actually play a proper game of tennis with these rackets, and they're so fun to use. I really had a good time with these frames. They feel much better. They're really playable. You felt like you could play any stroke really. And we just had a ton of fun testing these rackets together. It was slightly windy, but you know, that doesn't deter proper tennis nerds. And as you will see from the other playtesters, I think we all had a smile on our face while playing with the Epoch rackets. The price is pretty high for now. We'll see if that changes. It's like 1,200 euros a racket, but it's a handmade product, and they need to raise some capital to actually be able to produce more of these frames. So I would be keen at some point to actually have one to play with. But yeah, 1,200 is a bit excessive for my budget as well. But yeah, really fun play test, and not the easiest racket to play, but not the most difficult one either. And I'm quite happy as a fan of wooden rackets to see them back in action and actually hitting really nicely. The string I would go for would probably be a hybrid. I would go for like a gut in the mains and some round poly in the crosses. I think that would be kind of perfect. It was fine with a full bed of poly, but it would be nice to be able to combine these two things. Andreas seemed to prefer the one with the multi, which was a bit surprising considering he's such a spin player, and Henrik preferred the polyester setup, as did Daniel. But yeah, great hit, a really fun project. I really find it puts a smile on my face when I see players try something a little bit unique, a little bit different, a little bit out there, and I wish them all the best, and really enjoyed hitting with the rackets. I hope to keep you posted with this project. What do you think, playing with wood?
I'm extremely pleasantly surprised. I thought it should be like almost impossible for my game. As you can see here, and I'm out of shape now. But as you can see here, the string pattern, it feels like a modern racket, like a PT57 or something.
Yeah, very flexible, but nice. Like, and it can generate some power at least.
And you also think a bit more than if you play like with a regular power racket. So you think where to hit the shot, so you get like more mental alertness.
Yeah. I mean, you have to exert a bit more energy, I would say.
Yes.
But also, I think it's good, maybe a way to develop your strokes, because you can't play lazy. You know, if you're lazy with a wooden racket, it doesn't matter if it's modern or an old school.
This racket was strung with like 42 pounds Laxelon ALU Power French Open 128, and it fits very well. And you can feel the ball so extremely well. I mean, this is normally a pretty strict. If you can feel the ball, you can generate good topspin. The slice, just you kills with the slice here. It's extremely effective.
Yeah.
The only issue is like in the upper hoop, it's very flexible. So
Yeah.
if you hit like a normal racket here, then you can still play the ball here. It's pretty dead. But if you're hitting inside the sweet spot, this is magnificent. This is a racket that you should have to practice your brain.
It's a great practice racket for sure. Yeah.
Yes. And you think about where to hit the ball. You practice your strokes. You're hitting through the ball, and nothing but grace. I mean, this is way better than I expected it to be. I think I could play a match with this racket.
Yeah.
Don't get affected too much. Okay, maybe if I play like a super offensive topspin player where I have to play like up in the corners, corners, maybe I would be hampered a bit, but playing like a normal match, no problem at all. No problem at all. Extremely pleasantly surprised.
Andreas, what's your experience about the wooden Epoch rackets? You seem to like the multi-filament, which I was a bit too much.
I also like the multi-filament, but I really love the rackets. The flex is amazing. For me, it suits a lot with my slice game. But I'm also very curious to test more to know what the difference is with a poly in it and a multi. Because normally I always play poly strings, but I really like the racket. It's like a modern version, but in wood with extreme flex. So it's not like the old school rackets that have small sweet spot, because it's definitely bigger and a lot of feel. So that's super nice. So looking forward to test more.
Daniel.
Yes.
What did you think? You're a Mr. Racket collector. You have like 800 rackets, right?
I do, that's true. I have both wood and graphites. And like Andreas said, this has got nothing to do with old wooden rackets. The sweet spot is bigger. It plays very much like a modern racket because of the geometry and everything and the size. I've been part of the ride because I've tried the prototypes, and I'm amazed how far they have come in just a pretty short amount of time. And as we could see today, this racket test, everybody's pretty happy with them, and you guys have a lot of experience and I have a lot of rackets, and I think together we can say that so far we're all pleasantly surprised.
I'm here with the founders of Epoch rackets, wooden rackets but with a modern take. Guys, pretty amazing to play with these. I mean, I'm a big fan of wooden rackets. How did you come up with the idea? How did this all start? Because it's kind of it doesn't feel like 100% logical to start making wooden rackets in 2023.
Yeah, all right. We're both racket collectors, really enthusiastic about it, and so we started out. And when we met, we thought we'd make our own racket brand, and yeah, we ended up in wood because of the history of tennis and everything.
Yeah, so we started actually by that I bought the racket from Theo, and we met in his kitchen and swapped rackets, old traditional things, and we couldn't really stop the energy. We need to do something more. We need to build our own rackets. And then after a couple of weeks, we had the first prototype, and it was just, the skin was just prickly with goosebumps, gåshud in Swedish.
Yeah, it's a good word. But I mean, how long did it take for you to get from to the first prototype? You started with, did you have any knowledge before on how to construct the rackets?
No, we just like to invent stuff and work with our hands and stuff. So, and yeah, it took us like 1 month. Like the second time we met, we laid down the first prototype, and then it was an inventing journey. Like we had to come up with all the tools for the production and everything, and yeah, it took us like 2.5 years of development to reach the first one.
Yeah, because what you're trying to do, and you're doing it well, from what I can feel by the first hit, is that you're trying to make like more of a modern size racket with more of a modern style beam. As you can see, you will see on the pictures. Yeah. So what are the complexities? I mean, if comparing to making like an old school 60 square inch racket, this is how many square inches?
97, 98 square inches.
Yeah.
So it's just in the middle of the modern playing.
Yeah, kind of a control racket in the modern age, right?
Yeah, one can say so, yeah. And that was the aim from the beginning. We want to do our own rackets, but playing characteristics. So the beam is like 20-21 millimeters by which is much wider than a normal, the old, very much like the modern graphite rackets. So what we experience is that it has the same playing characteristics. If you play with a lot of topspin, you put in a poly and you play with a lot of topspin. It's doable, so to say. So that was also something we realized during this trip of racket development. It is possible to do this.
We could never have done this ourselves. We needed to complete each other during this development phase because, it was one step forward and two steps back all the time, and then all of a sudden we reached a model which plays really nice, I think.
Yeah, it does. So what's your goal? What's your dream? Do you have like an end goal in mind? Do you want to have this commercially available, or you want to make it like a boutique brand that people buy who are collectors, or are you just doing it more of a kind of like a project to show that this is kind of a sustainable way of creating a tennis racket?
Yeah, I mean, a vision is, of course, that we could do this full time, and it will develop to something where we can use this unique craftsmanship in combination with modern playing characteristics and live on it.
And hopefully also have our own forest where we can get our own wood.
Yeah, it would be cool,
in the future. Yeah. So it's 100% sustainable.
You can play, we have a workshop, but we have a cafe and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we have caps, wooden tennis caps.
Yeah, because I think something I would have wanted to see for a long time is like a wooden tennis racket tournament for the like pros, like pretty high level pros. It would be fun to see Ruff or someone like that who plays with a lot of spin in today's game play with a wooden racket, right?
Yeah.
That would be crazy fun.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I think most people would really enjoy that, even if it was just like exhibition on grass or whatever. But it would be fun to see how they would manage, how a different style, different stroke technique, because the mechanics today are so different from how they were like 20 years ago. You know. Yeah. So your background, like, you're not in woodworking?
Scientist within material science.
That's good for this, I guess.
Played tennis in the younger years up until, and then started again. When the kids grew up and started playing tennis, and then I realized that one can play tennis as a senior, and since then I have competed also in senior competitions and so on, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm a happy amateur tennis player. I've never competed, and I just played for racket size and stuff. So that's what I've been doing in tennis.
Do you have as many rackets as Daniel?
Not quite, but I only collect Tad Davis rackets from America, the Tad Davis brand. So I have quite a large collection of this racket.
What's so special about that brand?
I love the design of the rackets from them. It's the most beautiful rackets ever made.
Oh wow! No, and I also love playing with wooden rackets because partly it's very arm friendly, right? So the flex is you don't feel anything when you play with the wooden racket. Like it doesn't really tax your arm. But it also has like it really, since it has a higher swing weight, it forces you to play with better mechanics. You can't be lazy with your shots, which I think a lot of players could benefit from just working with the wooden racket for like 30 minutes a day or something, just to get the stroke a bit more clean. Because now with all the polys and all the big head sizes, it's like this. The technique can become a bit confused, I would say, for a lot of players, especially starting now. Veteran players starting late or something, for example. Awesome. I'm really happy to follow your guys' journey, and I really enjoyed playing with this one. And it's a beaut, really nice looking frame. Looks really good with my bag as well, apparently. So yeah, good luck in your journey.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Could I take this racket into a tournament? Yes, possibly. I know that Michael is playing like the Swedish senior championships with this frame, and one of them at least. And I would be open to doing that. I did struggle a little bit with the flexiness in the hoop. That's impossible to kind of get away from since it's a wooden racket. But you can definitely use this racket and play with heavy spin like Andreas does, for example. And pretty much any shot is fine with this frame. It's just a little bit less forgiving than maybe a graphite racket, but the feeling is much better overall, and it's obviously quite arm friendly. And since they have this 16-19 pattern, it's all there, all the kind of modern control racket features, except that it's made of wood, and that's pretty cool. So I wish them all the best, as I said, and I will really follow this project. And if you have some budget and cash for tennis rackets and you really would like to try these, I mean, you can buy one on their website. Beautiful racket, beautiful piece of handmade art, and I really give them huge kudos for putting so much attention and energy into this project. And it shows that the world of tennis is full of love and dedication and passion, and I really enjoy that fully.